So sure enough, once I've uploaded my video suggested chess books, I get a private message asking me first of all why I did not add Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy by John Watson, and why did I choose my system as one of my favorite books. So I'll tell you what. First of all, Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy is an excellent book. It's a very deep work by John Watson. It's a very fine book. However, I do not consider it proper for beginners or intermediates, or even, let's say, people who are in the beginning stage of their advanced intermediates development. It's probably more suitable for people who are at least close to experts. This is just my opinion. You can disagree if you'd like. However, there's something that I do want to say about this book. I do basically what he's doing in this book is he's taking a lot of Nimzovich ideas and a lot of other ideas by Lasker, ideas by a lot of old ideas, and he either refutes them, updates them, or challenges them. And the problem that I have with it is that once you're saying this is wrong, let me tell you what is right, you're cornering yourself, you're putting yourself in a spot that is problematic to begin with, because chess is a very complex game, and you have a lot of exceptions, and we haven't yet understood the whole of chess as well. And I just think that a lot of the things that he says are quite simply incorrect, and I will just give a short demonstration why. So I want to read out loud something from page 16. Not surprisingly, openings which are more modern routinely defy Nimzovich's rules above. I can't think of anyone who would consider the Najdorf Sicilian a closed game. Consider the number of violent mating attacks by white which have occurred within the first 20 moves, and yet black can make a considerable number of further pawn moves with only one or two pieces out after 1e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, for example e5, h6, and so on. Might all follow shortly, making 7 pawn moves before the development of the other pieces begins in earnest. So basically, structure takes procedure over development in number of modern contexts, turning to an example that illustrates a general contempt for classical rules. A perfectly respectable modern defense line goes, and here he basically starts to almost refute ideas by mostly Nimzovich, but also Lasker and Tarrasch. And what he's saying technically is true. Quite often, and I will be the first to say it, the structure is the first of all the most important factor, but also it's even more important than specific piece development, especially if the structure prevents play by your opponent. Otherwise it's obviously it's irrelevant. I mean, the reason why black plays a6 in the Sicilian is to stop bishop b5 and knight b5 and so on. He's not playing it for fun. He's not playing just any pawn move. So obviously when he's talking about things like the modern defense, he's talking about defenses that the structure also prevents certain play. And here he gives an example in the modern defense, which we have after 1e4 g6, d4 d6, knight c3, c6, f4, d5, so even moving the same pawn twice, e5, h5, knight f3, bishop g4. Now, basically, we can see that white is about to make the 7th move, and black so far made only pawn moves, and yet we can see that black's d5 pawn prevents white from going to b5, prevents white from going to e4. We have already ideas here on the king side with thematic h4, bringing the bishop here possibly, not only here. We have further ideas by playing e6 followed by c5. So again, moving a second pawn twice, because the first one was the d pawn. And we're basically talking about a lot of pawn moves that any piece play. And yet his opinion is that black is just fine. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to refute that opinion. I'm just going to say that a lot of the modern structures in the modern defenses are successful due to practical reasons, as opposed to I don't know how to put it, correct ones. Quite often the problem is that white is not playing as accurately as he should be, because these defenses are still quite new and still quite unexplored. Even to this day, how often have you seen a world champion or even a super GM who is in the top 10 playing a modern defense? Not very much. It is quite rare and it is still quite new. And I just don't think that some of the things that he says are actually correct. So for instance here, I'll continue to read on, he's saying, of course, we're now in the area of closed openings. Notice that 7h3, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, e6, bishop d3, c5 would be the ideal counterexample to Lasker's 1 or 2 pawn moves rule. Then black would have made 7 pawn moves with every one of his pieces on its original square, and yet he would probably stand better. I repeat the last line that he says, and yet black would probably stand better. What a load of crap. I mean, I'm serious, this is just complete and utter nonsense. Here black is better? Are you crazy? With all due respect, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, and here I think that white is just clearly better, and I'm going to show why. So first of all, I think that bishop d2 is the best move here, because white wants to castle queenside here. He doesn't want the bishop to be in, and let's see, knight c6 castles queenside. If a6 here, again continuing with the theme here of preventing play with the structure. King b1, queen c7. I think that castling kingside is going to be insane. And here white has a very nice move actually, which is bishop e1. Now utilizing the dark diagonals, specifically h4 to d8. So castles, bishop h4, basically rook d7 I think is possibly the best move. And here there are just so many things that white can do. You know, knight e2 playing c3, then moving the knight to d4, knight a4 attacking the bishop, but to be honest with you, just a simple g4. And I think that anyone who thinks that black is better here has some problem with his chess understanding, and I will say it as it is. I mean, white has more space, white is controlling the diagonals a lot better. He's preventing play by his opponent, specifically because of those pawns, in a way that really prevents black from playing freely. And also white is the only one who's currently threatening a break, specifically with f5. Not to mention that white seems to be about 2 tempi ahead with respect to dynamic play and the dynamic piece placement. I mean, I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks that black is better here has some serious problems with his understanding. So 7h3 is actually perfectly fine, but here, continuing the what he's saying in the book, I'll read on. 7 bishop e3 is more accurate since it protects the center and prepares castling queenside. So, alright, let's continue with his ideas. Bishop e3. Here black plays e6. Now going to play c5, and he writes, by not playing bishop g7 on move 2 or 3, black now has the bishop where it belongs, i.e. on f8 supporting c5. He has wasted one move by playing d6 first and then d5, but gained 2 because bishop g7 back to f8 would have been necessary had black opened with and then he gives a line where black has to retreat back in order to play c5. So here he says 8 h3, bishop takes h3, queen takes f3, queen b6, excellent move by the way by black. Black is finally brings out a piece, and it is the queen. So it's almost like a joke. I mean, you know, black is defying every rule by the old chess masters, playing an insane amount of pawn moves, and then in the end developing a piece which is the queen, which you are not supposed to develop out early. And basically Watson's opinion here, what she's trying to bring across, is that it still works. And I'm not so sure. I mean, obviously it works, but you know, white castles queenside, black plays knight d7, and basically here Watson gives the line which is king b1 h4, so preventing a g4 and further weakening white's king side, specifically, you know, creating this somewhat weak hole on g3. Here he gives white a few more moves, and then he writes, white later discovered ideas like 12 g4, h takes g3, h4, intending h5 to open up the lines for the bishop with unclear prospects. Again, I repeat, unclear prospects. And then he gives a very long line where in the end basically his opinion is that black stands better. And this is my problem. It's what I said before in the start of this video. If you're going to take an idea, like Nimzovich's ideas, and you're going to say they're wrong, and you're trying to prove that your ideas are right, you have to be correct, because here the problem is that instead of king b1, with all due respect, white can just play g4 right away, and then h4 doesn't make any sense. In fact, h4 only weakens black's position to quite a high degree. So let's say that black castles here, queenside. Sorry, white plays bishop e2. By the way, these are moves that I came up with. I see now, because I have Houdini turned on, that actually Houdini prefers bishop f2 here. Again, I suppose the idea is to utilize this diagonal, and also stuff like bishop g2 and so on. Anyway, bishop e2, knight e7, following, by the way, Watson's development ideas. King b1 now, after we already played g4, king b8, and now queen f2, and we're basically preventing him from playing c5, or if not preventing, let's say at the very least putting a very serious question to c5. Now just look at this position, because if anyone thinks that black is better here, and I'll paraphrase what he said, you know, black stands better, and so on. Dude, I mean, you have serious problems with your understanding. I mean, white has significantly more space, is holding on to, or rather preventing black from playing good moves, good developing moves. This knight looks really awkward. It's unclear how black is going to play c5, unclear what black is going to do with this bishop, because as long as those pawns are here, those diagonals are extremely short. White is obviously going to prepare a break here with the move f5. We still have ideas such as knight a4, putting the question to c5 even more and attacking the queen. putting the knight here where it affects the queen side quite a bit, or even keeping it on a4, just attacking this square, and possibly bringing rooks over. Anyone who thinks that black stands better here is seriously mistaken. So I mean, basically where Watson went wrong is that here, after 10 knight d7, he basically thought that king b1 h4 and black is fine, but I mean, white can just play g4. So you have to be very accurate when you're trying to refute other people's ideas, specifically ideas that build the chess world in a way. And this is kind of my problem with this book. I mean, it's a great book. He has a lot of great ideas here, but I think that my criticism is valid. My criticism is correct. I dare say. I think that I more or less just proved it without much difficulties, and he's definitely right in his opinion that there's certainly many cases where modern play has proven to work, but there are just as many cases where the appearance of of modern play is quite simply having a bad position and nothing more. It's just that people need to practice it more and understand that they need to play structural moves such as g4 before they take care of before they move pieces in this position to king b1. So I'm sorry. I mean, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I think that the point has been transferred.